Welcome to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.live, where we offer the news, sports, traffic, weather, information, and entertainment our commercial drivers want and need. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kirk, and we love to talk about entertainment. We love to feature big rigs and truck shows on the station, and especially on this show, which is all about what our drivers want to hear. The Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show in Biloxi, Mississippi promotes the transportation industry, and it supports the Wounded Warriors Project. It's a weekend filled with great big rigs, family fun, and networking opportunities. They're having all kinds of exciting stuff going on this year, July 15th through the 16th in Biloxi. With us today to talk about what's going on is Jim McCleney, Director of Marketing and Sales for the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show. Welcome, Jim. Thank you for being on the show today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much.
So I guess I could start with maybe the history. How long has this show been going on?
My wife and I started the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show in 2015. My parents, her parents were in the trucking industry. My two sons drove a truck. I drove a truck. Don't do that anymore, but I did. And we wanted to get the image of the trucking community out there for everybody to see. Mm-hmm. And we said, there's nothing here along the coast, and basically our area of coverage is Houston over to Jacksonville on the I-10 corridor. And so we started in 2015 at the convention center, and we had just one hall and right at 20 trucks. And now this year we have three halls, over 120 trucks this year.
Wow,
and
that's growth.
Yes, and with the times today, with fuel prices and stuff like that, to have this many truckers, professional truckers and company drivers coming to the show to show their equipment to the public with the price of diesel and all, it's pretty good. And, we just want to get the positive image. These guys work hard all day long, all night, and they just wanted to show off their equipment.
Oh, sure. Well, who doesn't? And more chrome, the better, right?
Oh, my goodness, we have the chrome, that's for sure. And the big highlight of our show is, again, we support the Wounded Warrior Project. Mm-hmm. But then our show ends different than most shows. We start lining the trucks up Saturday evening, get them all lined up, and they go on the beach road along the Gulf from Biloxi to Gulfport, make the turnaround, and come back. And when they pass the convention center, the show's over. That's how we do it.
That's so cool. I think drivers are chomping at the bit to have these kind of gatherings. Tom, when you say that that's part of it, especially since COVID, truck shows have really made a comeback in many ways?
I think they have. I think drivers always appreciated them to begin with because it was a chance for meeting new friends, seeing old friends, etc. But one of the things that I've noticed this last year or so, with a lot of the restaurants and truck stops being closed, a lot of places that we would sometimes be able to meet up with friends, we're not able to, whether it's because of schedules, lack of facilities, whatever. And the truck show is our place to do that. So whether it's, the Granddaddy Show Mid-America or smaller shows, regional shows like this, it's giving us that opportunity. And one of the nice things about this Gulf Coast Truck Show, even though I haven't been able to personally attend it, I have several friends who has, it's air conditioned.
That's exactly right.
It is
That's
indoors.
Huge.
So unlike Louisville, and while Louisville has its good points and its bad points, the biggest bad point about Louisville is the show trucks are all outside. So if it's raining, snowing, whatever, you'll sometimes see grown men cry because, a half hour before the judges come through, it snows, it rains, destroying a week's worth of work. And you'll literally see grown men in tears because it's like,
That's true. That's true.
So there's a huge advantage by this being inside in that. And anybody who's ever attended the Great American Truck Show back when that was in existence, let's just say it was hot. And well, they did keep a lot of the stuff indoors. There were certain things that went outdoors. So this being an all indoor show, it is, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's the only one, Jim, that is totally indoors.
That we know of, yes, totally indoors. And like I said, we started out with one convention hall, and now we're up to 3, and there's only one more extra hall left, and then we'll outgrow that.
Wow. That's super progress, though. I mean, and in just, 5 years or so since you started? No,
Since
7 years?
2015.
Okay, yeah.
So this is the 7th. We lost one show for COVID, but this is the 7th truck show.
Oh, and that's terrific. So
And that's definitely cool. Sorry, Shelley, go ahead.
no, I was going to ask you, Tom. You were talking about how grown men can cry when the weather's bad and they've just polished their rig. Have you ever polished a rig, Tom?
Goodness.
I have a couple of times, but I've polished it just enough to know it ain't for me. It is not. It is hard. It is work. In a pinch, I've been known to wash a rig. And that's about as far as I will go. I am one of those where if the boss wants the rig polished, he's going to pay someone to do it. It could be me. It could be somebody else, but somebody's going to get paid. I do not have the passion that some of these do to do it. And it truly, it is a passion when it comes to the polishing and all the details and everything else that goes along with that. And don't get me wrong, I like a shiny rig, and I cheat because my truck doesn't have a lot of chrome on it because the boss, there's some, but there's not a lot. But there's just this chemical you can get at the truck wash. And guys who do show trucks, close your ears because you're going to scream. It's called citrus shine. It's this acid kind of thing you put on there that makes things look good. It really ain't good for the wax or certain other truck parts. It doesn't look good enough. So, there's cheats for people who are chronically lazy like myself. And you can get some plastic components that are chrome like, so when you wash them up they look almost as good as new. So there's some cheats you can do for someone like me, Shelley, but it's not the same as having the real chrome. It's not the same as having it done right, or going to some of these chrome detailers out there who have all the equipment and know how to bring the most out of your chrome. It's not the same. Okay, guys who really appreciate chrome, you can start listing again. I've stopped mentioning the dirty words.
Well, we also have a couple of areas outside of the convention hall where trucks that do come in from over the road, we have a couple of washing stations that they can wash their trucks.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm going to ask a dumb question. Do you need a step ladder to get up and really polish the rig? I mean, how do you wax the top of it?
Yes.
That's totally up to the driver.
But you will see some people, the guys who are really into totally waxing their trucks will either bring in ladders, some type of scaffolding. I've even heard of some guys that they'll get some kind of a mana lift or some, particularly if, let's say, they have a farming or some other operation where they can bring one in on a flatbed. They'll bring in some form of like that, and 3 or 4 guys will all use it, or however they come up with the idea with it. But yeah, you'll see all kinds of creative things. But you'll also see guys using various polishing devices on poles. You'll see different homemade power devices. I mean, if you want to see true trucking engineering, go to a show like this during the polishing and setup stages, and you will see some of the most MacGyvered solutions you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah, we have to be
ingenuity,
Right. We have to be very careful for the simple fact that since this is inside on concrete, we have to be very mindful and talk to the drivers and make sure there's no oversprays and stuff like that, because some people can go to the extreme and it's like, well, now wait a minute, we have to make sure this floor stays pristine.
Oh, sure.
But they're all pretty good. They know. They know.
And a lot of the guys too will do a certain amount outside in a parking lot.
Correct.
And then they'll do the finishing touches inside. But Shelley, excuse me, on behalf of truckers everywhere, it is not redneck ingenuity or engineering. It's trucker engineering. That is a
That's
pejorative.
right.
I would say that's the best kind of engineering and ingenuity.
It's trucker engineering. Like I said, redneck engineering to us, particularly for something like this, that's pejorative in this particular sense.
Yeah, we advertised along the coast. We've been advertising along the actual convoy route, and each year it just gets bigger and bigger and more people and more people. So, and the truckers just love the more people, the better.
Oh, you betcha. That's half the fun. You know, it's like a big Cracker Barrel for all the drivers, just to sit down, talk, and wander around looking at their big rigs and have some bragging.
And honk horns.
You betcha. You betcha. Wow. This is going to be so much fun, Jim. What are some of the activities that people can expect when they come to the show?
Oh, sure. Friday, the show starts at 1 p.m., and it goes to 7 p.m., gives people time to get off from work and still come over and visit. And we also, during that day, Friday, we will have a salute to the military and first responders at 3 p.m., and at 4 p.m., we turn the lights off in the convention center.
From what I understand, that's when you have the light show where all the trucks turn on all their lights. That's going to be super cool. And Saturday, the show begins at 10 a.m. and goes until 6 p.m. Then you have the job of getting all the trucks in line so they can be police escorted in a convoy all the way from Biloxi on the Gulf to Jones Park. And I understand they circle back and come back around in formation. Now that's neat.
They circle, they come back around, and when they pass the convention center, horns are tooting, that's when the show ends.
Wow. So what are some of the comments you get from the attendees? What do they like the best? I mean, there's so many cool things.
Oh, we have stuff for the kids, coloring for the kids to do, but people really like talking to the owner-operators and the drivers and asking them about their trucks. And because, a driver will talk about his truck all night long.
Oh, sure. That's half the fun.
And one of the things that we have to do, especially when we get ready for the convoy, is to keep them not so much talking and keep them moving. All we need is two of them talking together, blocking traffic. No, we got to keep them all moving. But they love it. They love, and like I said before, each year it's getting more and more people on that route just to come out with their kids and see the trucks. It's really something to see.
How much horn honking do you have during the convoy?
Oh, during the convoy, it's lights and honking, and the trucks are so beautiful at night, and the police departments really like escorting us, and it's a good distance. I would venture to say that round trip is about 10 miles. So it's and you catch it one way, and then it turns around and comes back on the same road the other way. So you get to see it twice.
Sure. This is a great way to showcase transportation and drivers for people who aren't familiar with the whole thing. It impresses upon them how cool it is, how important drivers are, and how cool big rigs are. I hate to interrupt, but we have to go to break here. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kirk. We're talking with Jim McCleney. He's the Director of Marketing and Sales for the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show. That's coming up this month. You definitely have to check it out. It's going to be a ton of fun. But stay tuned because we're going to be talking about all the activities they've got going on this year. Stay tuned right here on TNCRadio.live. TNCRadio.live is proud to carry the Steve Summers Overnight Drive Show. TNCRadio.live is dedicated to commercial drivers. We offer the news, traffic, and weather you need, and the entertainment, sports, talk, music, and celebrity interviews you want to hear 24/7. We have original shows and trucker podcasts that feature some of your favorites, like Ice Road Alex Debogorski and America's Truckin' Sweetheart Marcia Campbell. TNCRadio.live is convenient and designed for professional drivers. The best part is we're free, and you can listen anywhere you are on the road. With just one tap, you can tune into Steve Summers and us right on your phone. Simply download our app by going to app.tncradio.live. That's app.tncradio.live. Did you know that 80% of America's communities rely on trucking alone to deliver their goods? The trucking industry keeps America running thanks to the 3.6 million professional truck drivers traveling over 300 billion miles a year. Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward, or TNAF, tells the story of trucking and its positive impact on our economy, communities, and lives. Learn how you can be part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting truckingmovesamerica.com. Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kirk, and we're talking with Jim McCleney. He's the Director of Marketing and Sales for the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show. Jim, we were talking about the convoy and all of the stuff that's going on. What does everybody consider maybe some of the more exciting things that are going on with the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show, and how has it changed since you began in 2015?
Well, other than expanding and getting much bigger each time, we've always had various dealerships come to the show, and this year is the first time we don't have any. And the simple reason is they have no equipment. The trucking providers. Peterbilt, Freightliner are two examples off the top of my head. They were given in January of this year an allotment of trucks for the year.
Okay.
In January, and they were all sold by the end of the month for the whole year.
Wow.
But the problem is, if you look at any truck dealership, for the most part, they have no inventory.
Yeah.
So
with the shortages, it's crazy, isn't it?
That's crazy and that's why I have. Then I come to the show this year because they don't have anything to bring. Isn't that crazy?
It's almost like something out of the Twilight Zone. Would you have ever thought that would happen? The dealers
Never.
Would have some big rigs, and oh my.
Never. The one dealership was selling 2,600 trucks a year. Their allotment for this year was 640.
Uh-huh.
Wow, it's got to be super tough for these people to stay in business.
Yeah, it would have to be.
It is. And then you throw on the parts shortage that a lot of these dealerships are dealing with, where it can take weeks to get a what normally was a part that you should have been had in less than 24 hours, if that long. And it's not even just computer chips now. It's in some cases, it's actual physical components because the supply chain is so out of whack. But the one mistake that I personally think, Jim, that a lot of the dealers are making is, they can't sell trucks this year, but they already know what's in the pipeline for, let's say, 2023, 2024 in terms of new technologies. And with some of the new technologies that they're talking about introducing, in my opinion, they need to be getting out to these truck shows now. They need to be explaining it to drivers, explaining how it works, educating people, instead of just dumping it in our laps all of a sudden because what is it, 2024, I think, is when the new emissions regulations for California start kicking in. So a lot of people are in pre-buy mode now. Yeah. So in my opinion, they need to be out educating people, particularly if, like some people are saying, that there may be increased truck availability for 2023. They need to be out educating people now, saying, hey, do you want to get on ahead of the curve based on this regulation to buy your trucks now? Do you want better off waiting? With all this new stuff that's coming out with either hydrogen fuel cell or battery or this or that, they really need to get out there and start educating people now about that technology.
That is correct. And the two dealers that I talked to already know that next year it looks like it's going to be the same type of setup, where in January they're going to get their allotment again. They're going to sell it, and people are going to snap them up for the simple reason that they're going to put all these deposits down on these trucks. But if they don't need that equipment that's going to come in 4 months from now, they're having no problem selling their slot or their truck to somebody else who will buy it and give them a profit on it.
Oh, yeah. Isn't that amazing? I mean, used rigs, you could actually make more money than what you spent initially when they were new.
That's correct. That's correct. But these are new vehicles that people are putting deposits on that for some reason down the road, if they don't need that particular equipment anymore, they're selling that to somebody else and making a profit off of that.
Yeah. Who would have thunk that would have ever happened?
You're right. I would have never.
I mean, there's always been a tiny bit of that. Particularly when you're getting near the equipment pre-orders, where they have all the slots booked, where a company will say, hey, we're going to go and pre-buy X number of Freightliners or pick your truck, Peterbilt's, Kenworths, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden the time comes and all of a sudden their budget is not well. Maybe they've lost a contract, something has happened, and they're like, yeah, we don't need it now. But because of the pre-order cycle, they can usually get it off on somebody else with little to no penalty. And even right now, dare I say it, I wonder if somebody could buy a new truck, drive it for a few weeks, and then flip it and make a profit on it.
Yeah, who would have thought? Real estate and big rigs, you can flip them.
That's true.
I mean, I don't think anybody ever saw that. I mean, I looked at some prices not too long ago on some used trucks, and they were, let's say, roughly 99 through 2006, all pre-emission trucks, roughly 500,000 miles, give or take 150 to 250,000, but roughly let's say 500,000 up to 700,000. And I think the cheapest of them was 89 or 90,000. Now, keep in mind, we're talking longer nose Pete's, the W9s. We're talking the truck that, and a lot of them did have fancier packages on them. And some of those trucks were show ready, where if you wanted to have a show truck and you had 110 or 120,000 to drop, you could have had it right then and there. But I know recently, you may be familiar with the snorting board transport that was on Shipping Wars. It recently changed hands. I know approximately what it changed for, but I know at one point that was the anteater from, so that would have been a T600 from Kenworth. And keep in mind, that thing had all the toys, all the lights, all the bells and whistles. But I think they were asking somewhere around 80 for it at one point, or a little better. And that's an older truck, but that has a history and a whole bunch of other things on there too. But still, for a truck that has to be well over 20 years old, probably pushing 30, if not a little bit better, and that's selling at or what a good used truck that was 5 years old.
Yeah.
That tells you how the market is. But once again, though, that truck was immaculately taken care of. Right. So there is that value was there in that truck for more than one set of reasons. Right. And then you figure in the fact that it has a bit of a history. Okay, that adds a little bit more to it. But that's the other thing too. I think Jim may agree with me on some of these show trucks is some of them, like the autism awareness trucks and certain other trucks, because they do have a little bit of history, or they have been worked on by an incredibly well-known shop, whether it's the Chrome Shop Mafia or some of the other custom places along the Gulf Coast, that alone can add a little bit of value just to the truck for that.
So, Jim, what kind of big rigs are people going to be seeing? From what I'm seeing, we've got all kinds.
Well, we have working class, we have show class. There's 4 or 5 different classes that they will be in. Antiques, we have those. The most truck that we get in there, the most popular truck that we have in our show are usually the Peterbilts.
Okay.
And we have more of them than any other kind of truck. I guess they still make the long nose Peterbilts, and people really do like it.
Is it a Peterbilt and Kenworth that are the 2 biggest faves, or?
Well, Cadillac versions are like Peterbilt and Kenworth, and then you have Freightliner International coming up the pack along with Volvo.
Sure.
And I think they kind of go in phases a little bit, Shelley. And what I mean by that is like Peterbilt for a little bit had phased out the long nose and they brought it back. So I think something similar was happening with Kenworth with the W9 for a variety of reasons. But right now, I think the 379 is gone, but they've brought in the 389. I can't keep track of Peterbilt's numbering scheme. It's kind of confusing, and even Kenworth, sometimes it's a little, because they went from the T2000 to the T700, then they brought out the T680. But if you remember the T600 to T660, the 680 looks nothing like. It's one of the most convoluted numbering schemes I've ever seen in my life. Right. And somebody who is much smarter than I am, when I'm drunk enough, please explain it to me. Maybe I will understand it. Because I'm not going to do it sober.
You're assuming that Peterbilt and some of the manufacturers know the logic behind the numbering.
I think they were probably about as drunk as I would need to be to understand it, but that's a whole other conversation when they came up with it. But we won't go there and make fun of Peterbilt and Kenworth on their numbering system. But for somebody, it has to make sense, or at least that's what I keep telling myself.
Right.
Well, I was informed by the Peterbilt dealer that came to our show for many years that he actually filmed the trucks in the hall himself to send it to Peterbilt's corporate office to say, don't get rid of the long nose. People do not want the long nose. The aerodynamics trucks, and they're not really crazy about that.
Terrific. So did they listen?
Yeah, they still making them. Excellent. The long nose, yes, indeed.
And I think one of the things they have found out to some extent, Shelley, is that the fuel economy on some of these trucks, some of the aerodynamic trucks are not giving the fuel economy gains for a wide variety of reasons that we were being told. And there is actually some engineers out there that is saying if they didn't go and make some of the engine changes they did to some of these emission standards, they truly believe if they had stayed with some of the older designs, even some of the classic ones that are, thought to be very unaerodynamic, but they thought if they had done some of the modern technology, but went a different direction with the engines, and they were kind of forced to by the EPA. There are some that are estimating that they would have had up to or exceeding 20 miles to the gallon at this point. Now, I'm not saying that's true because that's what some of the engineers are blaming, saying all based on some of their own beliefs and studies and research or experiences. But, you had guys that were getting double-digit fuel economy back in the day with cabovers, stretched out cabovers. And so, and you say that to some of the fuel economy experts now, oh, no, that can't be true. But I can introduce them to the drivers, and they have who did it or the mechanics was involved in it, and they can tell them exactly how they did it. And there's a very heated debate. And you'll sometimes hear that at truck shows between the aerodynamic crew and the ones that are all about it's how you spec the engine, it's how you spec the gear ratio, it's how you spec the transmission. And to listen to some of those groups argue back and forth, if they could ever come together. And
that's the key.
And meet somewhere's in the middle. We might have triple-digit trucks, and I don't mean speed. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we might be having some numbers on fuel economy that just be absolutely shocking people. But it is what it is when it comes to that. But that's one of the fun things about the truck shows is you can go there and listen to some of these old timers talk about how they would get some of their things or how they did this or how they did that and give you ideas for ways to better operate your business and your truck. And in some cases, how to extend the life of your truck.
Hey, Tom, I hate to interrupt, but we do have to go to break here. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. We're talking about the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show with Jim McCleney. Definitely stay tuned for more coming up. Kathy DeCaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com. Great leaders challenge their people not to stop at the first right answer. Tighten the Lug Nuts is the book that will help you move past that first right answer to be more effective, more productive, and more successful. This book serves as a blueprint that can be easily applied by leaders, entrepreneurs, truckers, owner-operators, all of us in our everyday lives. This is one of the best leadership books you can read to help you accelerate towards your personal and professional goals. Plus, a portion of the proceeds will be donated to truckerschristmasgroup.org. Visit TightenTheLugNuts.com to order your copy today. Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kirk, and we're talking with Jim McCleney, Director of Marketing and Sales for the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show, which is coming up this month. Tom, I think you had a question for Jim.
Jim, this is a question I wanted to ask you. How many of the antique or classic trucks do you typically get to show up, if any?
We get some. There's a National Historic Truck Association, and we've been in contact with them in the last year or two, and we're trying to get them to come. They're in all 50 states, and those trucks, most of them, they don't drive them to they're in a trailer or someplace, and they bring them to the shows. Sure. We're working on that. That's our next big group we're going to work on. We do get some antiques for sure. Mm-hmm. And that's why we break it up into different categories.
We have about 9 minutes here, and I wanted you to be able to talk about the Wounded Warrior Project, how that works. Do the proceeds from the truck show go to that? And also if people can still sign up to bring in their big rigs and all of that.
Okay. Yes, we do. When people come in, we have different raffles that go on to support the Wounded Warriors. And that is a big part of our show because when it comes to truckers are always for the military. Mm-hmm. And yep. There's no problem getting truckers to put in, and we do the raffles, and we do the people pick their own show truck that they like the best. Of course, we do have professional judges that come along and really look them over and give them the fine-tooth comb. And then we have the People's Choice Award. Which one, is going to make the best People's Choice? And that's some of the money that goes to the Wounded Warrior Project.
Excellent. Drivers actually, I believe, as an industry, have the highest percentage of veterans.
That's correct.
Yes. So definitely very supportive of the military and very patriotic, it's the American way, and that's what makes trucking so awesome. And that's what most Americans don't realize.
We have, Patty was telling me we have a couple of busloads of retired veterans coming to the show this year.
Oh, that's excellent.
And so we definitely have the salute to the military on both days, where we get somebody to come up to the stage that represents the Marines and the Coast Guard, and we go right down the list. Mm-hmm. And that's always a good time. And then we have entertainment Friday night from 5 to 7 with a Robam show. And so we try to keep it a lot of fun.
So there's something for everybody to do. If people are bored, it's their own fault, right?
That's it. That's it. But like I said, if anybody, when it comes to truckers talking about their trucks, there's never a dull moment.
No. No, it's just entertaining to stand on the sidelines and watch them debate, right? And one-up
Yes,
each other.
and I cannot believe that, I'm so glad we don't have to go stand outside.
Oh, yeah, especially this time of year, it might get a little hot.
Yeah. Big thing is trying to get them, like I told you before, trying to get them lined up, get them out, because there's no such thing as, okay, you start your truck now. You start your truck, you can start. Once one starts, they all start.
Oh, sure.
And it gets pretty smoky in there.
I bet. So can people still sign up to bring in their big rigs?
There is no more spots inside for this year.
Okay.
But we do have spots outside because there are some trucks that, are not, they don't consider themselves good enough to be in the competition, but they sure want to ride on the beach in the convoy. So we will have about, last year we had about 10. This year we're going to have about, I would think, 20 to 30 trucks outside to go along with the 100 inside.
Sure. So people can have their bragging rights outside. Nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And good Lord willing, we have great weather. We've never been rained out before. So that's
Knock
what we're
on wood,
hoping
right?
for.
Yeah.
Knock on wood, yeah, because there's some disturbances out in the Gulf, but we live with that. So
sure. Just kind of comes
the
with
show will go on regardless.
Absolutely. Nobody's going to melt.
Nobody's going to melt, and we're inside.
That works. We have to go to break one more time here so we can pay the bills. You're listening to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. Stay tuned for more coming up. Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, is boosting the image of the industry by telling the story of trucking. And your story can be part of it. Upload a photo. Tell us what you love about trucking. Or send us a story about a good deed or charitable act in trucking. Be sure to follow us on social media and contact us through truckingmovesamerica.com. That's truckingmovesamerica.com. TNCRadio.live is proud to carry the Steve Summers Overnight Drive Show. TNCRadio.live is dedicated to commercial drivers. We offer the news, traffic, and weather you need, and the entertainment, sports, talk, music, and celebrity interviews you want to hear 24/7. We have original shows and trucker podcasts that feature some of your favorites, like Ice Road Alex Debogorski and America's Truckin' Sweetheart Marcia Campbell. TNCRadio.live is convenient and designed for professional drivers. The best part is we're free, and you can listen anywhere you are on the road. With just one tap, you can tune into Steve Summers and us right on your phone. Simply download our app by going to app.tncradio.live. That's app.tncradio.live. Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson with Tom Kirk, and we're talking with Jim McCleney. He's the Director of Marketing and Sales for the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show, which is going to be a ton of fun this year. Where do people find more information about the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show? And is there, I would imagine there are hotels, or is there camping nearby where families can make reservations?
Yes, there's 2 or 3 campgrounds right along the beach road. And I know we have a sponsor hotel, the Imperial Palace in Biloxi, and they have allotted us all the rooms we needed, and they're all done. Now, they might be able to call into the Imperial Palace and get their own room, but the ones through the truck show are gone.
Okay.
But there's plenty of rooms on the coast, but, you just have to call around.
Sure. Just do a little bit of detective work. When is the truck show again, and when can people start showing up? Can they show up early or?
Okay. Again, the truck show is Friday from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. and on Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we're going to be there. Well, most of the staff and all is heading over there tomorrow just to get it all ready and lined up. And so it's going to be a great time. It really would. It really will be. I'm sorry. And look forward to everybody coming. Come see the beautiful trucks.
Oh, absolutely. And that's July 15th through the 16th in Biloxi.
Correct. That is correct. And we ended on a Saturday night. When we first started, we used to end it on a Sunday afternoon. But it's too hard, and the drivers need to get back to where they're going and get ready for their runs next week. So we decided to end it on a high note on a Saturday night with the convoy on the beach. Rain or shine, we'll be there.
Everything goes good with a beach, especially big rigs and a beach, you know?
That's right. And then everybody heads over to the casinos.
Excellent. So, Jim, where can people find information online about the truck show?
Okay. Right. They can go to Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show.org, and all the information is there. The ticket information, how you can get them. There's a phone number, which is 985-630-9171, and we can answer any questions that you have.
Excellent.
But bring a lawn chair for Saturday night.
There you go.
To sit all along the beach.
Yep. Absolutely. What a perfect way to end a truck show.
There you go.
Jim, this has been fun. I really appreciate you being on the show. And this is going to be a lot of fun. People definitely need to check out the Gulf Coast Big Rig Truck Show in Biloxi,
Well, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Jim. We appreciate having you on the show. You've been listening to the Truckers Network radio show here on TNCRadio.live. Stay tuned for more coming up. Thank you for listening to another great interview on TNCRadio.live and the Truckers Network radio show. All of the material you hear on TNCRadio.live on our website, our broadcasts, or our podcasts are copyrighted. There can be no distribution without the express consent of TNCRadio.live and its partners. For inquiries, write us at info@tncradio.live.